Welcome back, everybody, to another stream. I'm just going to give this about 30 seconds or so to fully load in to YouTube, and then we're going to get started. So, before I begin this, for anybody that's watching after the stream, and, if you want to rewatch this in the future, watch it later, whatever, I do have a TikTok now where I post videos of my cats, mostly, because they're cute, and you guys deserve to see them. And I also have a video on there where I show off some business cards that I custom created myself and then had shipped to me. And I'm also going to be posting a couple reaction content videos on there, mostly product reviews. I've got a couple products that I personally ordered that I really like, have served me well, and I figured I might as well show you guys as well. And I also want to do some product reviews for my own products, completely unbiased. I will be absolutely honest in my opinions on there as best as I can be, as unbiased as I possibly can at least. So if you're interested in any kind of custom t-shirts or anything, you can also check out my TikTok shop. That is linked to my profile. It will be at least hopefully in the next 48 hours. I finally got the TikTok shop up and running. I've got a couple of my products from Etsy that aren't really selling on Etsy, so I figured I'd branch off to TikTok shop as well, see if some of the print-on-demand stuff would sell better there. So if you're interested, feel free to check it out. But it's been about a minute and a half, so we'll go ahead and get started. Today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be reacting to, obviously, Brett Cooper. So she started her own channel, a little backstory. She was kind of booted from the Daily Wire. There was some disagreement, probably regarding salary. That's what most people believe. Because she drew in millions of views, and they were probably paying her next to nothing, as they do, as most corporations do. So she branched off, got 1 million subscribers with a single trailer on her channel over the course of about a week and a half, 2 weeks, and here she is. So I watched about 8 minutes of this with the wife. She's on here. Say hi, Mia.
Hello.
So we watched about 8 minutes of this, and she started going pretty hard on some stuff, and I had my own opinions about it that, of course, nobody asked for, but that's how all political commentators are. Nobody asked for their opinions, but they still give it. So here we are. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on it.
To the Brett. What's up, guys, and welcome to the Brett Cooper Show. I am so happy that you guys found me over here on this new channel. I am so excited to start this new chapter with you guys. We have been hard at work behind the scenes, literally boots on the ground, me and my 80-year-old neighborhood grandpa putting shiplap up on the ceilings to cover up my 90s popcorn ceilings that I thought you guys would not find aesthetically pleasing on a set. We're literally in a room at my house. We put this all together. Anyway, I am so excited to bring this new show to you and show you guys what we have been working on. So my goal with this new show is to foster understanding, to go deeper and extract substance in the stories and the issues that matter most to us, the issues that impact us on a daily personal basis. And I have always said this, but I want to reiterate it, that I do not take for granted the fact that you guys take hours out of your busy lives to watch my videos, and I want to make sure that every single second of that time matters. I want to make sure that every single video I put out leaves you feeling more confident or empowered or smarter or more inquisitive about the world. And so because of that, we are going to be doing less frequent episodes. We're not going to be chasing the news cycle as much. I want to make sure that every single episode is intentional. This first season, in my eyes, is all about understanding where we've come from, where we're heading, and trying to fix the obvious disconnect between the generations, between values, and so much more. So I hope you are ready for even more hard truths, deeper dives than we have ever gone before, insightful interviews, and of course, lots of laughter and levity, because it would not be...
Hello to everyone that's popping in. I see a bunch of people coming in and heading out, but if you'd like to stay, we'd welcome you. Feel free to leave comments. I'm not going to be pausing it as much during the first couple minutes, just because she's really just introducing herself and the new dynamic and everything. So we're going to let that play out, and then I'll be injecting my opinions when I feel necessary. But if you want to leave comments or leave your own opinions, feel free, and I'd be happy to have a discussion.
A Brett Cooper production if we were not having fun through it all. But for this first episode of season 1 of the Brett Cooper Show, I thought that we could just keep it simple and keep it between us. And I realized I just said keep it simple, but this episode kind of is not simple at all. It actually might get me into trouble, but we do need to talk about how the right runs the risk of literally losing everything that we've worked for if we continue down a path of mimicking the left's toxicity. AKA, we need to talk about right-wing cancel culture. But before we do, you guys know the drill. Make sure that...
Now, I did say just like 30 seconds ago that I wasn't going to pause, but that's a pausable moment. That's something I have personally noticed in my limited experience on Twitter. Extremely limited experience on Twitter. I try not to go on social media platforms besides YouTube. It's not very good for mental health, other than, laughing at people. But I have noticed from the things I've seen being covered by like Nuxanor, other content creators and stuff like that I keep up with to keep up on the interesting news. It really just comes down to, I love the way Nux puts it, and I don't necessarily agree with this in its entirety, but Nextaku says it's really a choice between the blue satanic pedophiles and the red satanic pedophiles. And I don't necessarily think that every single person on either side is a pedophile, but it really just goes to show that they're the sides of the same coin. They operate almost identically, but with opposing views, in a way. So it's kind of like the dynamic between good and evil. The typical understanding of good and evil, you have, they're literally the sides of the same coin. You can't imagine a world without good or evil. When if you go beyond that and go into like religion and stuff like that, you see evil was never meant to exist. It was only supposed to be good. So it's very interesting to have that dynamic in the political sphere as well, especially with the way that you have people like Andrew Tate and his brother, and you have other content creators and people on the platforms. I mean, I don't think Trump does this to an extent. I've seen Elon Musk do it, like Elon Musk beefing with Asmongold, for instance, like not really cancel culture, but like removing his verified tag on Twitter, like kind of just petty stuff like that. And then there's other examples that I've seen. Now, I can't give them to you off the top of my head, but I know there's a couple I've seen personally where the conservatives are just eating themselves the same way that they make fun of the liberals for doing. And it's really sad to see, because the Republicans are supposed to be the party of common sense, and yet the extremists on both ends of the parties, on both parties, are the ones that are the spokespeople. And it's just really sad to see, in all honesty. It breaks my heart, because it shouldn't be like that. The common man on both sides, because I feel like the common man leans more towards being a centrist, or maybe, they lean more Democratic, or they lean more Republican in a way. But I feel like the common man mostly agree with each other, or could get along in a cordial and civil way. But the extremists are the ones on both ends that have the most voice. It's unfortunate.
That you are subscribed to this new YouTube channel. Leave a like if you enjoyed
And
the
by
video,
subscribed,
and of course ring that notification
I
bell to stay
have
up to date
ring
on all
notification
new episodes
bell.
of the Brett
Go do
Cooper
that.
Show.
Go follow
and
Brett
if you guys
Cooper.
want even more content and ad-free episodes, click the link in the description below to check out my new subscriber-only platform. There'll be lots of information below. Would love for you guys to check it out. But we have far more pressing matters to attend to. All right, so I've been thinking about this topic since New Year's Eve, and I've known that I want to cover this on my first episode because it just keeps coming up. And it specifically came up on New Year's Eve after the actress and comedian Whitney Cummings did a set on CNN's New Year's Eve show. And if you missed it, just take a look.
2024 election fried our brains. The Democrats couldn't hold a primary because they were too busy holding a body upright. Kamala was forced on us so hard you'd think she was patented by Pfizer or Moderna, whichever one's, oh God. Andy just gave me a very scary look.
No!
I thought being a mom would mean that less people will want to come see me. I'm now playing, like 3,000 seat theater,
awesome.
which is about the viewership of CNN these days.
I mean, it's so great. Like, this entire set, she is basically shocked they have not cut her off. You can tell that she's uncomfortable. She's like very tentative.
Oh, I
she's
didn't
taking
realize
a
she was a
risk,
comedian.
making all of these jokes that are
That makes
incredibly
sense.
honest. They're incredibly
I mean, yeah, I'd never heard of her before either, so I also don't follow much comedy. So there is that.
genuine and insightful about the state of our world and the state of politics. and people loved it. Like, she went on for like 5 minutes and everybody was, again, literally in shock that she was not cut off. And of course, she immediately went viral on X. Some people had never heard of her before. They were so excited to find, you know, another brave and honest comedian who was willing to push boundaries and make these kinds of very, you know, relevant jokes. But what makes the story interesting is that people turned on her as quickly as they fell for her, because they realized that 5 years ago when COVID was raging, she used to be very pro-vaccine, and that she even had vaccine mandates for some of her live shows during that 2020-2021 period. And you have some tweets here. You can see her talking about the vaccine, saying that, God, we need a vaccine. Can we make a vaccine now? Go, we need a vaccine. Chop, chop on that vaccine. Like, she was tweeting about this constantly. And immediately, people on X started calling her out. They were calling her a grifter and a fraud, saying that she was an opportunist, that she was taking advantage of this time in culture when things were shifting to the right to try to make a name for herself. They literally lost their damn minds. And again, this happened in a matter of hours. I watched her videos go viral. I was like, man, this girl is so cool. I've seen her on TV. And then suddenly everybody hated her. And it makes no sense to me. Like, they were angry that she had not issued a formal apology before getting up and doing a comedy set. Like, they were angry that her track
5
record
years
wasn't
is enough
perfect.
to become a completely new person.
It is. 6 months is enough to be a new person. It really just comes down to, like, the extremism of it, you know? Like, the liberals do the same thing, right? They will go back. They won't have any evidence or any reason to dislike someone, and so they'll go like 6 years or 9 years or a decade or two back to really early on social media person and be like, you were an awful person because of something you said 7 years ago. Okay. Have I said it since? No. Then why do you care?
Because it's dirt.
What's the point? There is no point to it, really, other than being petty. It doesn't make sense. Like, yes, this person was probably a Democrat. She did support vaccines. Like, but she also has a right to do that. It wasn't like in those tweets, I didn't see her calling people monsters or calling them horse medicine takers for not getting the vaccine. She just said we need a vaccine. She was an avid vaccine supporter. There was nothing in those tweets that were calling people who didn't get the vaccine monsters, like what was going on a lot. So what's the problem with her supporting a vaccine? It's her right as an American to support that. That doesn't mean she's a bad person if she supports vaccines. I support certain vaccines, yeah. Do I support getting a COVID vaccine? Depends on your situation. If you would like it for when you die, you have a 50-50 shot of having miles of blood clots removed from your body, take the COVID vaccine. Like, that's your choice. It's still your choice. Do I think it's stupid for most people? Absolutely. Because as someone with a healthy immune system, if I get COVID, I'll probably recover from it. Someone without a healthy immune system probably needs a COVID vaccine. Or, you know, it may kill them. Like, it's kind of like it's a chance. It's a chance with any vaccine, though. Especially one with as untested as the COVID vaccine. But
and people with compromised immune systems, sometimes a vaccine is actually worse for them in some cases.
It just depends. I mean,
they don't recommend most vaccines for pregnant women specifically. And for the COVID vaccine, they made it an emergency and like it was a whole exception, which was very strange.
It really wasn't. I mean, in my personal opinion, I know there's a lot of people that died from COVID. But, and my family, a lot of my family members got really, really sick with COVID and ended up at the hospital. But do I think they should have taken a vaccine? No. They lived. Ultimately, it also comes from my unique standpoint. If I'm going to die, I'm going to die. There's nothing I can do to die sooner than I'm supposed to die. There's nothing I can do to live longer than I'm supposed to live. So ultimately, to me personally, it doesn't matter. I know a lot of people don't share that point of view, but that's just where I come from personally. So I'm not super worried about... I'm not super worried about that. A day later, no, it was fellow comedians feeling that she waited until it was safe to take a stand. I mean, I can see that. I can see why that would upset some people, but also at the same time, aren't most people like that? I feel like most people are like that. Like, even just 2 or 3 years ago, you would be martyred socially for even saying that the COVID vaccine might be unsafe. It might be unsafe as a basically untested chemical that you inject into your body and that you have to get redone every like 4 months because it's just completely ineffective in and of itself.
The bigger issue is that a lot of times comedians don't have other skills as well. They're comedians, and a lot of times there's like comedians that joke about how it's not really a job. And if she had taken a stand when it was unpopular, it could have absolutely annihilated her career, maybe forever. And then she literally wouldn't have a job and wouldn't have anything else to do. Do you know how much money she would lose? She was filling up big audiences. Like, the amount of money she would lose going to a blue-collar job would be substantial.
I mean, yeah, but like, it's also not. It's not any person's job to talk about their political views. It's not any person's job to do that. It's not a comedian's job to do that. It's not a CEO's job to do that. Now, if they want to do that personally, they can. I don't see a problem with it. But anybody who tries to use their position to sway political opinion other than just like having open dialogue and discourse, I don't think that's necessarily right. I mean, you have a right to do that, absolutely. I don't think people should be ragging on her as much as they are for being safe about it. Because like she said, she's a mother. She may be married, I don't know. But you know, she's got other things to worry about. So I think I think it's unfair that they're hating on her as much as they are over something stupid, really, because it is stupid. No matter what anybody says, it's a dumb thing to hate on someone for. I personally knew people that supported the vaccines. Like, I never did. I would never get a COVID vaccine under any circumstance. Like, I don't care. I would never touch that because I don't trust it. There's nothing trustworthy about it. But plenty of people did get it. Plenty of people did want the vaccine. So what? It's their right to do that. And like I said, it's not her job to come out and speak out about it. And it's perfectly acceptable of her to wait until she feels it's safe. And it's not like I said earlier, it's not like she was calling people that I know of. It's not like she was saying that people who didn't get the vaccine were monsters like the mainstream media was. CNN was calling everybody conspiracy theorists and monsters and saying they hated humanity for not getting a vaccine. Like, bro, it's not Ebola. Like, it's not the Black Death we're talking about here. Like, it's not that big of a deal. But it's really unjustified. It's unjustifiable the way they are treating her on Twitter. Again, it's just social media, so that also doesn't matter too much, but it's still unfair in a lot of ways.
Like, guys, nobody in the world has a perfect track record. And more than anything, I think that we should focus on their actions. I mean, that's how I evaluate everything in my life, whether it is a politician or my meat delivery service, which is why I trust Good Ranchers. Guys, did you know that 85% of grass-fed meat in our stores is actually not from the US? That's because, and support a company that actually follows through on their word. And I understand that people are upset because being angry about COVID and everything that happened during that fever dream of a couple of years, it's understandable. Awful things happened. I mean, the lockdowns, the vaccines, the being separated from our families, kids being kept out of school, it was a travesty. But we have moved on from that. And also we need to be real because think about who we just elected. Think about who we spent the last couple of years propping up and encouraging and fighting for. Donald Trump. The man who first ushered in lockdowns, the man who encouraged us all to get the vaccine and is still saying how amazing it is. So we can support him and elect him and stand behind him 100% knowing that he isn't perfect, he doesn't have a perfect track record, but a comedian that has changed her mind and is now bravely going on CNN to tell some mildly based jokes. That's not appropriate because she didn't apologize. It makes no sense. Like so many conservatives that we follow, that we all love, were misled or wrong about COVID. My mother, my
I actually didn't know that Trump was a really avid supporter of the vaccines. Do I look at him differently because of it? No. Why would I care? Ultimately,
there was a lot we didn't know about those things.
I mean, ultimately, it's up to us to make a decision. Like, If you get a vaccine because a politician tells you to, you're dumb. In my opinion, you're dumb. It doesn't matter what vaccine it is. Now, if you go talk to your doctor that you've been seeing for the past 10 years, and he tells you, yeah, you should probably get this vaccine. You're at risk of getting this if you don't get the vaccine. Go get it. That's a professional opinion. Now, do I think you should have listened to Fauci? No.
There's some stuff seriously wrong with Fauci.
Well, I'm pretty sure he's under like massive lawsuits right now, and I think he's going to jail. But I mean, like anybody with half a brain cell knew that dude was suspicious as heck, right? Like anybody that saw him speak knew he was a snake. Like the dude, he doesn't talk like a normal human. No. So I wouldn't have believed him anyways, but.
Supposedly, he's done some really sick and twisted experiments.
Foil hat, Alex Jones watching mother who's literally building a bunker. I remember getting grounded in 2020 because I went to the beach with my friends in Los Angeles, and she was like, you're going to kill me. You are going to kill me. You need to go out into the garage. I don't want to see you. Like, literally was grounded because she thought that this was so serious. And it's okay that people were wrong and that things changed, because we genuinely, most people, had no idea what was going on and what was actually true, what was real. So that is one point that I want to make. But most importantly, isn't the goal to change people's minds and bring them over to the other side and show them the light? Like, that is what my goal is. But now people are seemingly upset when that happens because these individuals who have come over weren't right all along. Like, we spent 10 years fighting tooth and nail, proving people wrong, fighting back against cancellations, dispelling allegations about us, about our political party, about things going on in the world, exposing corruption and lies day after day after day, trying to convince people. I thought that was the goal. I actually look at Whitney Cummings as a huge win, like a bold win, a refreshing acknowledgement of how far we've come, how many people have bravely, dipped their toe onto the other side, who have admitted that they were wrong and that they've now seen the light. That is objectively a very good thing. And I commend her, and we should all commend her, for having the bravery to admit when she was wrong and take a step to the other side. And again, a lot of people think this is a grift. A lot of people think that it's not real, that she hasn't actually changed her mind. I completely disagree. Like, you can literally go back over the last couple of years and you can see where and how her mind started to change. One of my good friends, Chris Williamson, he has a podcast, Modern Wisdom. She has been on his show twice in the last couple of years. And in those episodes, she goes in depth about how being a mother changed her. She became a mother to a son, which made her rethink culture and society, specifically thinking about gender roles and masculinity, completely realizing that she has been lied to, and that was kind of a snowball effect.
Well, it's not just motherhood. Assuming any kind of responsibility, especially over another human, will absolutely make you view things differently. I mean, I know my mentality changed a lot when we got married. I started viewing a lot of things differently. And I changed very rapidly to assume the role of head of household. I changed a lot. And it's just the consequence of actually having responsibility. Used to, it was a lot easier. People were more mature because from a very young age, you had some level of responsibility. Back 100 years ago, some kids had to work. They had to do yard work every single day because they didn't have power tools, or they didn't have stuff that made it easier for them like we do today. 150 years ago, like lawnmowers really didn't exist. I mean, there was probably push mowers and stuff like that used cycling blades to cut grass. But like the children actually had to go out and work. What do kids do nowadays? They sit in a classroom all day, then they come home, eat Doritos and nothing but Doritos, and they're lethargic because they have no purpose. So when you actually gain a sense of purpose, you gain something called common sense. It's a beautiful thing. It's a really beautiful thing. And what happens when you get common sense and you assume a level of responsibility, you actually start thinking about things. Another very beautiful thing that most people don't seem to do. Actually consider things. It's great to be a skeptic. Everybody should be a skeptic. Everybody should be skeptical of everything. It doesn't matter what it is. If you have blind faith in anything, you're a fool. So never have blind faith in anybody. And if someone genuinely does seem like they're changing their mind, accept them at face value. until they prove to you otherwise. That's how I live my life, at least. I accept everything at face value until someone shows me something different. And it's worked out for me so far, relatively.
Into her changing her mind about everything else. She also did a podcast appearance more recently where she actually hit this political transformation head on. Just take a listen.
We are in a time where if you are on the left and you don't criticize your party, how much do you even care about your party? I don't think the left is as liberal as it used to. It's like the left became the party of censorship and my body, my choice, but you have to take this vaccine. And my body, my choice, pro-choice party, but you don't have a choice in your candidate.
So again, you are seeing her mind change. You are seeing the issues that forced her to rethink everything about her political stance and about her political parties. And I'm seeing all of these comments. I'm seeing people who are posting clips from this podcast and they're saying, Whitney, it's 4 years too late. It doesn't matter. You're not actually brave. I don't care when it happened. Like, truly,
I highly, highly disagree with this. I highly disagree with this. It's 4 years after it matters. It still matters. That's a very stupid, stupid idea. That it doesn't matter because it didn't happen when you think it should happen. We are absolutely still in a war with insanity and stupidity. That is what this is. It is war of common sense versus just the opposite of common sense. It's a war versus logic and the illogical. And it's ongoing, and it's always going to be going on until the day we're all dead. Because that's just how humans are. So to say it doesn't matter because it's 4 years after the initial lockdowns is stupid. What is Whitney Cummings going to do?
Bro,
like,
what's
seriously.
with the summer soldiers storming the beaches of Normandy? Like, what? What does that have to do with anything?
They even spelled it wrong. Because the beaches in Normandy were stormed in 1948. So, 1944, sorry. So they're saying it's 4 years too late. They're literally comparing her to a soldier on the beaches of Normandy.
Which
That's
makes
stupid.
No sense.
That's dumb. What the heck? What do you mean?
That's an argument fallacy. I forget which one it is.
Like, the person that wrote this obviously didn't consider anything before putting their words to paper. Like, what? Are you kidding me? Are you serious? You're really going to say it's 4 years after it matters, so you've given up. That's what that tells me. You think the war is over. You think it's done and gone, and nothing you do matters, and nothing you do is going to affect anything. That's a defeatist mindset. So you've already accepted defeat. You feel like it's over. Or you feel like you've won. Trump isn't going to be the end of this. Now keep in mind, just for everyone watching, I did not vote. I did not vote this year. Do I support Trump? Kind of. I think he's the most logical choice, simply because he's not crazy. I mean, he is crazy, but he's the kind of crazy we need to scare other countries into not screwing us over. Like he's doing to everybody.
Crazy,
yeah.
Not the mentally.
Not the correct kind of. I wouldn't even say the
mentally
correct kind of
slow.
crazy. He's the crazy we need. We have tried for so long to elect both Democrats and Republicans who would actually give us a solid footing in the world, and all we've got for the past 2 decades, including Trump during his first term, although it's not necessarily his fault, is the Senate and the House were against him, so he couldn't do all that much, but he still had no idea what he was doing in his first term. Absolutely no idea. But the past 2 decades, we have gotten shot in the foot by every single nation on Earth. Everyone is using us. We are bleeding dry. We are literally guarding half the planet, spending taxpayer dollars on other countries when our citizens are drowning in debt. No, it's time for this to be over with. That's why people voted for Trump. That's why I personally think Trump was a good option. And if he becomes a dictator, well, it was bound to happen eventually. Someone was going to. So, I really don't care. I think it's going to be a fun couple of years.
The Roman Empire wasn't always ruled by emperors.
But, yeah, saying it's 4 years after it matters, that's ridiculous. It's utterly ridiculous. It always matters. Everyone's opinion matters. I will say that. Are some opinions stupid? Absolutely. There are stupid opinions just like there's stupid questions. But it's still an opinion. It's still your right as a human being to have that opinion. And it's also your right as a human being to express it. That's what makes America great.
It doesn't matter. You're not actually brave. I don't care when it happened. Like, truly, I don't. That's BS to me. I'm just happy
Thank you.
that she's thinking critically about the situation and that she has gotten to a point where she feels brave enough to speak about it. Like, again, that is a net good, in my opinion. And so the point I'm making is that, yes, people can change. That is a good, normal, human thing that happens to all of us. And when you change, that means that you then come with a past. You come with choices that you've made and things that you believe that you possibly regret, that you would not believe or do now. That's fine. Like, genuinely, that is okay. That is actually very normal for every single human being. So why are we ripping somebody apart because they were 4 years too late? Like, again, wasn't the goal to get people to this point? And so in my opinion, the correct and the good thing to do is to welcome people like Whitney Cummings and understand where they're coming from and have empathy for the fact that, yeah, maybe it took them longer than some other people, but they finally got here. And that doesn't mean that you have to trust them implicitly and say, oh my God, here's your MAGA hat, here you go, I'm going to follow you, and you're actually going to be our shining guide of a light for conservatism. No, like, that is ridiculous. You can tread lightly and be cautious, but you also don't have to be nasty. You also don't have to be a troll online because they aren't perfect. Because I guarantee...
Exactly. I feel like too many people on both sides of the aisle try and... It's almost like idol worship. You know what I mean? Like, they try and make, like, miniature gods out of figureheads. Out of these politicians, businessmen, comedians, basically anyone with any kind of influence. They basically worship them like Swifties. Basically worship Taylor Swift like a goddess. And it's creepy as shit. It's so creepy that they do that. And it doesn't make any sense. Like, why would... Like, I get... Humans innately want leadership of some kind. They want leadership from someone. They want an example from somebody. And that's why it's very important that we choose our leaders wisely. But a lot of people don't do that. They don't do their research because we're lazy. Americans are very, very lazy. Very lazy. And it's because we have abundance, which isn't a bad thing, but it's a bad thing when you let it rule over your life, just like it's a bad thing to blindly follow anyone or anything without being a skeptic, without doing your proper research.
The people that are commenting these things about her are not perfect either. And more than anything, I think that we should be focusing on people's actions, which brings me to yet another example, as I've been thinking about all this cancel culture stuff, which is Bud Light. And I can't believe that I'm touching this because I know that this is still such a hostile issue on right-wing social media, but I think we need to talk about it. We all remember this ad with Dylan Mulvaney. I did so many videos about that. They gave Dylan a beer can with Dylan's face on it. It was a whole thing. We had their female millennial girl boss marketing exec saying that the Bud Light consumer base was fratty and out of touch, which really just meant that Bud Light was out of touch with who their audience was. But Bud Light has spent the last 2 years trying to make things right. They have literally been repenting for 2 years. Like, in my personal opinion, Bud Light has done more to get back on track and actually listen to their consumer base than, say, the companies that Robbie Starbuck has been going after. The companies that get a ominous message on LinkedIn from Robbie saying, we know what you're doing behind the scenes, we're going to expose you. They get freaked out. They put out an apology and a very well-curated PR statement rolling back everything they've been doing over the past couple of years, getting rid of the BLM initiatives, all of that BS. And while those things are obviously still net positives and they're good for society, those are actions that are being done out of fear and convenience. Where Bud Light is literally putting in the work, whether you like it or not. Like, over the past couple of years, the ad agency that was involved in that Dylan Mulvaney beer can, they fired 13 people immediately after. Bud Light put 2 marketing execs who were involved in that on leave and ended up firing them. They gave an apology, albeit very squishy, didn't actually hit the issue head on, but they did make an apology. But more importantly, they drastically changed their marketing tactics. Like, they actually got back to who Bud Light's consumers are and what Bud Light stands for. Like, they made Shane Gillis the face of their company, which was a dream come true for him because he loves Bud Light. They tried to make manly advertisements again, like every single one of their ads at this point, I think, has men in flannels drinking beer and watching football. They did an exclusive partnership with Dana White and the UFC, which, oh my God, I'm sure you guys remember this, which royally pissed people off. I mean, conservatives thought that it was such a betrayal on Dana White's part to help Bud Light rebrand their image after this scandal. But Dana White, interestingly, had a completely different take. He was on a podcast talking about this, and he said, "We had multiple bidders on the table. They were one of them. History has shown me, with relationships that I've had with other beer companies, I don't go crazy over the whole Patriot thing, but I consider myself a proud American. I'm happy to be an American. I love this country, and you are way more aligned with Anheuser-Busch than you are with other beer companies. I guarantee it." And then he went even further on Bussin' with the Boys, and he said this.
So if I have made the decision to go with Anheuser-Busch and Bud Light, there's a damn good fucking reason. I know the inner workings of the beer business better than any of the other these guys out, these fans and all this shit. And basically, they went after Anheuser-Busch for being woke and doing what they did. 65,000 Americans are employed by Anheuser-Busch, and a lot of them are vets. That alone should be enough reason. Number two, they spend almost $1 billion a year with U.S. farmers. That should be a fucking reason you do it. All the stuff that they do for first responders and vets and $44 million spent over the last however many years for their families. Every time there's a natural disaster in America, they shut down the plant and turn it into a bottled water facility. And they've done something crazy like 100 million bottles that they've sent out to Americans in need. Give me a fucking break.
I mean,
I had no idea.
I didn't know that either. So it really was just a terrible marketing decision.
It was just came from the higher up. They just hired a couple of the wrong people who happened to have little people underneath them and made a really bad advertisement. It really doesn't take that many people to make an advertisement, I don't think.
That's crazy, though. I had no idea they did that.
No,
I didn't know.
I didn't either.
Like, I knew that people had talked about most of their employees being vets, which I was kind of like, I don't buy Bud Light. I will say that. I don't drink beer. I drink Jack Daniels. Jack Daniels, Coke, and lemonade specifically, and Stella Rosa. But I'm not a big beer person. So I wasn't like, did I think it was stupid what they did with Dylan Mulvaney? Absolutely. Did I think their apology was stupid? Yes, but I kind of get where they were coming from because they didn't want to like come out. They wanted to please and not offend as many people as possible, which, I mean, you can't please everybody, but corporations don't understand that generally. But like what Dana said, like it just from that alone, you can tell how much good they've done. And I mean, nobody's talked about them either for the past 2 years. I can't believe it's been 2 years since this happened. That's crazy. But I remember it was like it was yesterday.
I remember when my mom showed it to me. She pulls it up and she's like, "Look what they did!" And I was like, "Who is this?" And she's like, I'll give you the backstory for this." And then she shows the other thing to me, and I'm like, "Oh God, no."
Yeah, it was crazy when it happened, but at the same time, like, no one, like I said, nobody's talked about them. Same thing with like Planet Fitness, for instance. Nobody's really talked about Planet Fitness. Although I can't imagine too many people cancel their membership over, the whole pedos in the bathroom with kids debacle. But I mean, if it seems like they're actively working to rebuild their image, which is commendable. So why not give them a break?
They had a big branding issue, and then all the good things they did, even before that, completely were unseen and stayed unseen. That's crazy, and that's sad. That's really sad. That's so sad.
Dana White was over it. He had been questioned about this so much. He had been criticized, literally ripped to shreds. So many conservatives that had aligned with him and were partnering with him were breaking off ties. It was literally like the seas had parted. There was a divide over Bud Light because people couldn't decide whether they deserved to be redeemed or whether they should literally be boycotted and canceled into oblivion forever. And I know that there are people who disagree and they want to see these companies who have made wrong turns, who have made bad decisions, they want to see them completely destroyed, canceled, ended, bankruptcy, never to be seen again. But I actually completely disagree. Like, I want to see companies change
Yeah.
and be better and come back stronger and actually listen to their consumers. Like, I think about companies like Disney. Disney is an incredibly important company and has been for generations. It has changed thousands and thousands of lives. It has changed the direction of so many different
Disney might
industries.
be
It would
too
be a
far
shame
gone.
to see it be completely destroyed. But I do think it should be better. I think that
would
they
be
should actually
sad.
listen to their audience and listen to their consumers who pay their bills. That is what needs to change. Like, I don't want to lose integral and historical and important parts of American society simply because I'm bitter and I've been burned. And the way
Yeah.
to avoid this is to be self-aware, but it's also to be smarter. And in my opinion, the best
Valid.
way to become smarter is through Peterson Academy. And Peterson Academy is Jordan Peterson's
Another
online
ad.
university that is open for enrollment right now. And if you are someone who loves lifelong learning and
interested in
wants
this,
to
hang
learn
on.
from the brightest professors in the world, if you are someone who has ever benefited from Dr. Peterson's lectures like I have, or his incredible guests
don't
that
know
come
who
on his
that
show,
is.
then this
Just listen.
platform is for you. And every month, Peterson Academy releases 4 new 8-hour university-level courses taught by world-renowned professors, and it's produced in a way to keep you engaged. These courses cover an amazing range of subjects, from statistics to philosophy to psychology to mathematics to science to English literature and so much more. And they're also complete with optional testing to further your understanding. There is also a built-in social community so that you can engage and interact with like-minded students as you're learning, and they are also rolling out new educational features as the platform grows. So if you are ready to challenge your intellect and expand your horizons and truly take control of your education,
Interesting.
it is time to go to petersonacademy.com/Brett. It is $599 a year or $59 a month to access all 31 8-hour courses, plus the 4 new courses that they are releasing every single month. Plus, you'll get that social community and a 7-day money-back guarantee. And the best part is that at that price, you do not have to take out a $60,000 student loan just to further your education. So again, make
Okay,
sure to
so,
check
like,
out
that is kind of valid.
petersonacademy.com/Brett today.
Is
Again,
it,
that's
like, actually an academy,
petersonacademy.com/Brett to
though? Or is
join
it, like,
Peterson Academy
TED
today.
Talks?
And I know that this is
It's
a
more like
very
the great
hot take in
courses
conservative
plus,
circles right now, but
where they
in light of all of this,
have professors and they record the lectures and they create this big on the Great Courses Plus. I don't know if anybody watching has ever used it. It was my high school education pretty much. You have these professors great at what they do. They are the top in their field, and the Great Courses invites them to come give a whole lecture series. And so you'll have like 24, 18, 30-minute basically episodes, and some of them are better than others, where they'll talk about their various things. The Great Courses Plus has stuff on like Rome, Greek, there's one on zoology, whatever you can think of. It's all educational, it's all teaching you. So I'm assuming that their 8-hour lecture courses over on what she was talking about is like in some degree similar to that. Basically college level teaching, something along those lines. But I've
Probably.
never heard of that before, so I have no idea. That's just my guess.
this is why I am choosing to give Mark Zuckerberg and Meta a chance. I want to see them be better. I want to see them succeed. And I feel like we've literally been watching Mark Zuckerberg transform. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, again, like Whitney Cummings, he's grifting, he's opportunistic, he's just changing right now. Are you kidding me? Like, I have been watching Mark Zuckerberg beef himself up.
Did you see the change in the eyes
doing
between
martial
the two
arts and
clips?
jiu-jitsu. Like, when he started doing
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu, I was like, it's over for the libs. And guess what? It kind of was. Didn't he open a like cattle ranch in Hawaii? He started talking about the importance of eating grass-fed beef. Like, somewhere along the line in the last few years, something clicked for him in his life and he began to change. I also personally think that his response to the Trump assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania, I thought that that was very, very genuine. I didn't think that that was calculated or opportunistic at all. I think that he, like so many other Americans who had turned away from Trump, who didn't really like him, I think that they saw him in a completely different light. I mean, you watched a man who has literally faced lawfare, has faced slander and shame, has been kicked out of his circles, has lost basically his entire community, and now he is being physically attacked, he is being shot at. And you see him stand up and say, fight, 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 because he believes in this country. He doesn't have to do any of this. He could be at Mar-a-Lago golfing, is what we always say. He doesn't have to be president. He doesn't need to be running again. He could be living a peaceful life. But he's
That is
choosing
true.
to show up against all odds because he believes in this country and he believes that it can be great. And I think
I've seen Mark Zuckerberg talk, and I've seen the video he put out about ending censorship on Facebook. And
Whoa, that's
and like
great.
Facebook's been laying off a bunch of people lately. I wonder if like Elon Musk and Trump were the trigger point of that. Because Musk taking over Twitter, and I mean, it's still a censorship platform, absolutely. There is still shadow banning. There is still the same stuff as the original Twitter, but under Musk, it's much less prevalent. Now, can he do petty stuff to people? Absolutely, and he absolutely does. He's a petty person, but I think ultimately it is for the greater good that he took it over. I think it's going to be a better platform, and it has been. You can do a lot more on there now. You can say a lot more now on there and not worry too much. I mean, Facebook has been around for a very, very, very long time for the internet. It's been a very long time. And Mark Zuckerberg's been running it forever. And him making it into a more free speech friendly platform is an amazing thing because billions of people use Facebook. Billions. It is one of, if not the most used social media platform besides maybe TikTok. And it is absolutely imperative that if he's serious about this, he does it.
Didn't Mark Zuckerberg like start his like Facebook, his business in like his garage? Like he was a very down to earth person in the beginning,
Something like
if I
that.
remember right.
Something like that. I'm not too certain. I don't know the history behind
Oh,
it, but it's
I
been
don't
around a long
remember.
time.
I used to know this stuff. I've forgotten it.
I think, again, like a lot of Americans, that clicked for Mark Zuckerberg. And if you don't know the clip that I'm talking about, just listen to what he said immediately after the assassination attempt.
Yeah, I mean, seeing Donald Trump get up after getting shot in the face and pump his fist in the air with the American flag is one of the most badass things I've ever seen in my life.
Like, I think in that moment, he developed a man crush. He was like, this is what a real man is. He's tough. He's strong. This is what I want to be. I genuinely think that it was inspiring, and the gears started turning at a much faster rate. I really think that that was the push he needed to draw his line in the
hair
sand
is curly,
and start
like
to unravel
it
everything.
naturally is. He's not trying to make it straight. He's not like styling it. He just stopped trying too hard with his appearance.
I
Because
guess.
his hair, from what I remember, has always been naturally curly. And for a long time, he kept it shorter and straight and combed. But it's always
he
been
and Meta
curly
had
from
been
what I
doing for
remember.
so many years, had been complicit in, which is why, in my opinion, he sent that now famous letter to Jim Jordan, where he basically admitted to all the censorship and said the White House was encouraging and forcing their hands. He said that in 2021, senior officials from the Biden administration,
damn.
including the White House, repeatedly pressured our teams for months to censor certain COVID-19 content,
Ouch.
including humor and satire, and expressed a lot of frustration with our teams when we didn't agree. Ultimately, it was our decision whether or not to take content down, and we own our decisions. This is really important. We're going to talk about that later. I believe the government pressure was wrong, and I regret that we were not more outspoken about it. I also think that we made some choices that, with the benefit of hindsight and new information, we wouldn't make today. Like I said to our teams at the time, I feel strongly that we should not compromise our content standards due to pressure from any administration in either direction, and we are ready to push back if something like this happens again.
What a fantastic
Wow.
response.
That is a fantastic response, but big L on the pressure from the government.
Dude, the fact he blew so much stuff out of the water. Like everybody knew the government was pressuring all these social media companies. I mean, like even Rumble, for instance, got letters from the government asking for censorship. And they said F you to the government. And they can't, like, what are they going to do? Sue them for not censoring stuff? You can't. You're actively engaging in anti-free speech. Like forcing private companies to censor public discourse is against the First Amendment. Whether or not, I mean, technically it's still legal only because social media platforms are not considered public space, even though they should be, because more open dialogue and discourse happens on social media platforms than anywhere in public anymore. So it absolutely should be considered part of public forum to be on social media, but it's currently not, so it's not illegal, but it absolutely violates the principle of the First Amendment.
And a lot of people read this letter and they said, oh, He thinks that Trump's going to get in office and that he is going to get reprimanded, that he's going to be thrown in jail. He's trying to cover his track. But that last line spoke volumes. We're ready to push back if something like this happens again. Any administration, either direction. I actually think that he was saying, Kamala, if you get elected, we're not doing this again. Because I know better now. I have more strength. I have more courage. I've seen somebody literally get shot at in the face and continue to stand up against absurdity and tyranny. And I now have the balls to stand up to you. So I think it works in both directions. And then, guys, to top all of this off, he made a video a couple months later, which I'm sure you've seen, announcing a complete overhaul of how Meta and how Facebook monitors content with a focus on free speech, which is, what it should have been the entire time. But now they're going back to their roots, is what he said. Just watch.
The US has the strongest constitutional protections for free expression in the world. Europe has an ever-increasing number of laws institutionalizing censorship and making it difficult to build anything innovative there. The only way that we can push back on this global trend is with the support of the US government. And that's why it's been so difficult over the past 4 years when even the US government has pushed for censorship. By going after us and other American companies, it has emboldened other governments to go even further. But now we have the opportunity to restore free expression, and I am excited to take it.
He's saying this is a global trend that you are all complicit
That's
in.
such a
We're not
genuine
doing this again.
smile,
And now that
too.
we have Trump coming into office, it's going to be a lot easier for us to fight back against all of this. And within minutes of this video dropping on social media, it was announced that they were, rolling back fact checkers. My favorite part of that video was actually when he said that he was moving the content moderation team from an office in San Francisco to Texas, was hiring all new people, which was just
That was
such a
hilarious.
F
Wow.
the libs moment.
I'm
like,
not
okay,
gonna
no,
lie,
we're
I've
taking this
never
away
seen
from you, San Francisco
Zuckerberg
tech
that
bros.
happy in my entire life. You see all the pictures with like,
I mean, he kind of looks dead.
I have never seen that man that happy in my entire life.
I don't think he
Ever.
has been. I mean, he looked like, for the past, decade, he's looked like a husk. So, it's
At some
good to
point,
see
he
that things
got-
are changing.
I think in his wealth, he probably lost his way and is starting to figure out what it means to live again. In some
Well, all it
capacity.
takes is a single person showing the world that, hey, we can actually fight against this. They can shoot you. They can all they it's so crazy. They tried so hard to let that kid kill Trump, and all they did was turn him into a martyr. That's all they did. And millions of people and billionaires, people that have their thumb on the heart and pulse of the world, are like, very clickbait. Very clickbait. Yes. Yes, Josie. Very clickbait. I did it on purpose.
Technically true. It's technically
It's
true.
technically
That's
true.
what-
And in the title I said kind of. If you look
It's in the small print.
if you
It's in the
look
small print.
on the thumbnail, it says kind of. So, clickbait, yes. Wrong, not necessarily. But you have all these billionaires moving now, and it's crazy to see that it's turning in this direction. Do I think it's going to last for a very long time? I don't know. I hope it does. I really hope I don't see... I'm glad you liked it. I thought it's the first time I've done a title like that, so I thought I would kind of add a little bit of my own flair. I watch a lot of Nuxanor and Nuxtaku, and I love trolling people too, so I'm a very chaotic person naturally, so I figured I might as well, embrace the clickbait a little bit, because why not?
I watched him make it, and he was like, "Should I use this?" And I was like, "Yes, it is. So you just use it." It's funny.
I would personally prefer if I didn't have to witness the collapse of the United States in my lifetime. Do I think I will? Probably. I don't think we have another century in us, personally.
No.
I think the United States is probably going to end in the next couple decades. Do I want to see it? No. Absolutely. And I would do anything I could to fight it. I've thought about running for office. Give me another decade of life experience.
maybe.
I could
I don't know.
probably run for mayor of our town, and then
Of your-
I could run
okay,
for governor of the state we live in, and then
But you don't like dealing with stupidity. You'd be so stressed.
I
So
would be horrifically stressed, and I would have to deal with so many stupid people. But damn well I'd be hilarious on TV.
Oh, absolutely. and all the
I'd be the
and you'd
person
have
that
your
mutes other
moments-
people's microphones. Like,
and-
dude, shut
and
up.
You'd have your moments, and all the women, the offended women, would call you misogynistic.
Be like, okay, thanks, I appreciate it. Bye. But let's hop back. We got 6 minutes left.
Let's
Taking
finish.
it to Texas where people are a lot more reasonable. That was just fantastic. He literally got rid of the DEI teams at Meta, removed tampons from the men's
Woo!
bathrooms, which was just insane. That they
There
were
are
in the first
tampons
place.
in
He
the
put
men's
Dana White
bathrooms?
on
What?
the Meta board of directors, which is, in my opinion, the most important thing that he did. Because with that, he said,
Oh, he
"I'm
put
taking
Dana
my
White on the board of
Whoa!
directors?
Somebody incredibly powerful,
That's
incredibly well connected on this
crazy.
board to not only hold me accountable, but also hold the entire company accountable." And of course, and I know people are already going to be commenting about this, and I'm sure you guys are concerned, but with Mark Zuckerberg's track record, obviously we should be skeptical. Obviously,
Yeah.
we should not jump in heart first, trusting this man implicitly, but you also shouldn't dismiss the work that he is doing that will make our lives better, that will hopefully change the course of the media landscape, much like Elon Musk and X has done. We should, in my opinion, hope for the best and hope that he is being genuine and be excited about the changes that he's making. And this man is also in an incredibly difficult situation right now. Like, everyone hates him. If you go online and you watch any videos about Mark Zuckerberg right now, you have libs screaming, losing their minds, saying we're not going to be on Meta anymore, we're getting rid of Instagram, getting rid of Facebook, literally ripping him to shreds. One of my favorite things to do over the last month has been to watch all of my lib friends on Facebook meltdown over this, so they're pissed off at him. Meanwhile, you have conservatives who think that he should be in jail, that nothing he does will ever rectify
think
the
he should be
situation
in
that
jail.
he created, that he does not deserve a
Jail?
second chance, that
I
we
think
should
that's a bit
also
much.
leave Meta, leave Facebook. Like, he can please nobody at this moment. He is between a rock and a hard place. Like, there is no real winning for him here, because everybody's going to hate him regardless, and nobody is going to like him or
That's a
trust him. So he is having to do what he believes is a moral right. He is having to make the harder decision, even though it might not be the easier decision. And I will always respect somebody for attempting to do
Well,
that.
if it's
And I
harder, it's
know-
obviously
I know
not
that a lot
easier,
of people believe that he
Mrs.
should face
Mrs. Cooper.
repercussions for what he did over the last 10 years. Other people want him to apologize, which
Wait, is
in
she
my
married?
opinion, he
I don't
did
know.
in that letter to Jim Jordan. And who knows if he will face repercussions. I don't know what Trump is going to do. It seems like they're kind of buddy-buddy, considering he was sitting right behind him at the inauguration. And other people are saying, you know, this is one of the most wealthy individuals in America who runs an incredibly powerful company. You should have just pushed back against Biden and the Biden administration. And
He should
while that
have.
is obviously, yes, true, to me, the fact that this incredibly wealthy and powerful man was afraid of our U.S. government speaks more to their overreach and their corruption and their power than it does to his character.
Absolutely.
Because if they were
Yeah.
willing to attack him and threaten him, imagine what they would have done to all of us. I mean, we saw what they did to people over the last 5 years. So it's understandable that he was apprehensive about not pushing back even more. And so that is why I genuinely am hoping for the best.
It really comes down to better late than never. Like, it's much better that he's doing this now than continuing on the way it was before. And I agree with her that the fact that she could scare one of the wealthiest people in this country into submission is the government could do that is terrifying. Because if anybody knows anything about billionaires, they're basically untouchable. And if they're not untouchable to the U.S. government in that capacity to the point they will terrify them into basically weaponizing the company that they built, that's scary. That's terrifying. There is no reason that our government should be able to do that. Now, I do think, I don't want you to think that I'm saying that the government shouldn't monitor and have some level of control over companies, because I do think that they should. I think that the government should break up monopolies. I think that the government should prioritize genuine capitalism, which is the ability for me to create a shop and compete with Walmart. And you can't do that in America right now because American politicians are bought out and in cahoots with most corporations. Everything's a monopoly. I mean, you look at a prime example. One of the
Walmart
reasons
works
that
as a
one of the
monopoly,
reasons that beauty companies are going so into the fat positivity movement. I don't know if you knew this or not. Most of the companies that do makeup and like designer clothing, like Victoria's Secret and stuff like that, I don't know necessarily about Victoria's Secret. They're owned by Nestle, which everybody knows Nestle. They make chocolate milk. They make junk food. And Nestle is partnered with another massive corporation, with other massive corporations, in this giant spider web where everything is ultimately owned by like 12.5 people. And so it's all conflict of interest. Like they push fat positivity because they want you to eat more of their junk food so that you buy more of their products to feel pretty. That, and then the government can scare one of the people that's on the level of those corporations. That's terrifying. It's terrifying that they can do that.
I want him to be genuine. I want him to succeed because that will be better for all of us. And in my opinion, believing in somebody's ability to change is instrumental to the health, number one, to the health of all of us in our personal lives, but it's also instrumental to the health of the right and our movement. Because if we lose that, we become no better than the left. The left that we have all been canceled and ridiculed by. The left that we have called out for policing speech and being relentlessly tribal in the way that they eat their own and do not allow anybody to have any kind of dissenting opinion or make any kind of misstep whatsoever. The left that says you can't talk about X and you can't do Y. Is that really who we want to become? I go on social media, I go on X, and that's what I'm seeing. It's just a bunch of infighting. It's a bunch of people freaking out because people aren't perfect. Oh my God. Wow. And of course, there's a difference.
Wow.
between
Yeah, that is the
toxicity and
correct
those
response.
cancellations
Wow.
and simply being cautious and holding people accountable and hoping for the best. But with what I'm seeing online, with what people are saying and commenting, those lines are becoming increasingly blurry. We just elected Donald Trump to his second term, which is fantastic. I think most people are very, very excited and pumped about it. I think that the world feels a lot better.
I can't wait to
since
see what
January
happens.
20th. But Donald Trump is a former Democrat. And a lot of people on the right have serious
Really?
problems with him, whether that is because of his track record on COVID, the vaccines, the fact that he spent a lot
Hold
of
up, he was a Democrat? I didn't know that. Well, I guess Joe Rogan was a Democrat too, and now he's more like centrist leaning because the Democrats
There were
disowned
some-
him.
In the past, there were some great Democrats, though. The Democratic Party,
True.
I would say, like, the parties are not the same decade by decade.
True. They do change.
The people are different, therefore the group is different. So it's kind of unfair to compare the two constantly over the course. One of these is not like the other most of the time.
Yeah. It's just sad to see, honestly. It's sad to see
even
everything
more
collapse.
What's even more sad is that America was never meant to be a two-party system, and because of, I think it was Alexander Hamilton beefing with somebody else, it got split into a two-party system, and has been that way permanently, because of founding father beef with somebody else.
Huh?
The two of them could not get along, it split the parties, and then those were the two main parties that ended up really just solidifying. It was the start of the two-party system. The system was starting to crack from the very beginning because it was not being properly maintained from the start. Which is really sad because it could have been a great system. It's lasted this long even with the cracks.
I don't know. I feel like we should have we should either have one unified party where everybody just agrees to disagree, or we should have multiple parties, like more than two. I feel like it should be like Democrat, Republican, then like centrists. That kind of just like in the middle of everything. Because I feel like people limit themselves to Democrat and Republicans too easily, because personally, most people, in my opinion, are centrists. I'd say the vast majority of Americans are. It just depends on like who you want to be voted in, you know? So.
money more than he should have in his first term, whether it was because he appointed rhinos, whether it was because of Jan 6, but people have gotten over a lot of that. They've pushed past that and they've said, yes, he might have made mistakes, but he's trying to be better. He is going to get this country back on track, and I'm choosing to believe in him. I mean, think about Tulsi, think about RFK Jr. These two former Democrats who still, to this day, do not share a lot of the traditional conservative values, but are doing very important work. And we've all gotten on board with them, and we are trusting them to work with Trump and help lead our country in a good direction. These people have all been welcomed with open arms. There will be growing pains for all of this. But we also cannot simply become what we just spent the last 10 years criticizing. Doing daily shows to bring people over to the other side, to show them that they were wrong, to expose the corruption, and then be angry and troll them because they weren't right all along. It literally is cognitive dissonance that makes no sense. We can't build a platform on free speech and then tell people what they can and can't speak about because of their track record or because what they believed 4 years ago. Like, that's not morally or philosophically consistent, and it's also just not right. It's not a healthy path for us to go down. We are at an incredibly pivotal point in our culture right now, and we cannot get complacent or get messy or get morally inconsistent just because we won a singular election. That means we actually have to lean in more. We have to be better and make sure that we stay on a right path, because if not, we could literally lose all of this and self-implode because of the toxicity, because we got lazy and fell into the same traps that destroyed the left. We have to be self-aware, and we have to be better.
Yeah.
Bravo.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. It's something I've seen, like I said in the beginning of this stream, quite a lot. It's just complete hypocrisy, ultimately. Because the left doesn't want to acknowledge they're exactly like the right, and the right doesn't want to acknowledge they're exactly like the left. They just have different beliefs. They operate identically. There is no difference between the two. They operate just the same, and a lot of people refuse to acknowledge it, and it's very sad to see. Because, like she's saying, I mean, ultimately what's going to happen is the Republican Party is going to collapse just as much as the Democrats do. It's really only it's a matter of time before it happens. I believe it's guaranteed, personally. I think both parties are going to utterly collapse under the weight of their own hypocrisy and stupidity. It's inevitable, like Thanos. Someone's going to have to snap the Infinity Gauntlet. Start over. But that is obviously the end of this stream here. I do hope you all enjoyed. Are we going to do Subnautica after this?
Maybe.
You want to do Subnautica? I feel like playing something.
Subnautica was on my computer when I first logged on. I was like, looks interesting. I don't know if I want to play with a controller or not.
You don't have to. I was just suggesting it because your desk is smaller, but... yeah. So, if you'd like to watch us play some Subnautica, I am doing that in honor of Subnautica 2 coming out. Also, I'm going to be streaming Metro Awakening. If anybody's been here for a long time, they'll know that I did all of the Metro series, and it was one of the most popular things I ever did on this channel. And Metro Awakening has come out in the past month or so. So I am going to be playing that. It's a VR. Up, and the few people that came into chat, I love to see it. And if you'd like more of this, keep leaving those likes. Just based off the performance of this, I already have another Nexnor video I'd like to react to, so feel free to stick around for that. I may do that in the next coming week. So have a blessed night, everybody, and thank you for showing up.